All right. Hey, this is Rolf Versluis with Horizen, also known as Block Ops. I've got the honor of introducing here at our last monthly live stream your host, Rob Viglione, also known as FinPunk, who's going to give us all an update on what's going on.
Thank you, Rolf. And the good news is, and I'll talk about this in more detail, we're saying the last monthly live stream, but we're actually doing weekly team calls now, open to the public, podcasting them, and we'll talk about our new format for quarterly updates in more detail. So let's just dive right into it. Next slide, please. So the agenda for today, we'll kick it off as usual with our community highlights. We'll do business development updates from Rowan. Then we'll get into some development project updates. I'll talk about the status of projects that have been ongoing, projects that we've closed out. And then I will hand it to Maurizio, who's going to go into a lot more detail on the most recent engineering updates, including updates to our processes and a little bit more under the hood detail into some of our important projects. Then we'll get into, actually Gustavo is going to talk about the Sphere updates, talk about what was recently released, and then what we have on the horizon for Sphere. Then I'll pass it off to Alan. We'll do the node system updates, and we have some big updates there. And then to Lucy for marketing, and then the usual regional activity. We'll see all of the good stuff going on all over the world of Zen. So that you can see the big bumper sticker here is we have our first node, our mini node that we announced last time has been undergoing a bunch of testing. And now we have more of them. So having multiple nodes on a network and doing making sure that the state between the nodes is consistent, and then doing inter-node communications. But more on that to come. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the big format change for us. We've been testing out for the last few weeks something we're calling the Weekly Insider. So this is our effort to be even more transparent and provide a higher frequency of updates to you, the community. So the format's a little different. These we do on Discord. So something to highlight here, Discord is one of our central points of communication for the project. This is where a lot of the action goes on, and we've actually reformatted a little bit on how we operate on Discord. So what we've done as a team now is we've actually opened up a lot of our team communications and our team workflows to the public, and we've gone from having private channels to public channels. And now you can actually basically check in, see what's going on. If you're interested in what's going on the development side, we've got developer channel. If you're interested in what's going on the marketing side, we've got marketing channel. We've got a whole bunch of other fun stuff going on Discord. But part of this fun is every week we have now a team call that is open to all of you guys. And you can just join our Discord, join the voice chat, hear us directly. We have a text chat that accompanies that where we actually paste a lot of our updates. And it's a really good format because now it's more frequent updates to you guys, and we're actually podcasting all of it. So I'm personally a big podcast freak these days, and I love podcasts because you can turn them on, go for a walk, go to the gym, hop on an elliptical, a treadmill, or whatever, and listen to the most recent updates for the project. So please do that. If you haven't checked it out yet, subscribe to our podcast channels, whichever venue suits you. I use Apple Podcasts, excellent forum. We have a few of them, so check them out. Subscribe, listen to the updates, or join the updates as they're happening. We also do Q&A in the updates. So we field basically an open forum for questions where you can submit a question, the community and team can vote on the questions, and the top 3 questions actually get picked to be answered during the live session. And then we obviously, if there's lingering questions, we can answer them in the text channel afterwards. So because we're doing weekly updates here with the Weekly Insider, we're moving these live streams from monthly frequency to quarterly frequency. So you'll get more of a strategic view of the project because all the tactical and operational stuff is going to be happening in these Weekly Insiders, and we'll reserve strategic stuff for the quarterly updates. So internally, as a team, we've been doing quarterly program reviews, kind of QPMRs. Now, basically what we're doing is we're making these public. So you can see the shift in just the way we do business is trying to make everything that we do more and more public, more transparent. And ultimately, from there, we need to decentralize further as a project. So really excited for this. Please participate in this one. We also have the same Q&A going on, so we're using the same tool. You'll see the bumper sticker on a lot of these slides will be the tool where you can actually submit your questions. Please do, and at the end of them, we'll field the top 5. Next slide, please. All right, so community member highlights. We have three big ones here. So Ivan Plivalven, sorry, your handle here, but super engaged community member, been that way for a while. Always tunes into our live streams, connects with us on Twitter, all of our comm channels. We need this. We need more of this. So really, really appreciate your contributions and just being part of the community, Ivan. Next up is Tony Stark. So Tony is actually a new member of our community, but he kind of jumped in with a splash. And actually, there was one day where we just had a ridiculous flurry of activity going on our Telegram channel. It was all Tony, and it was Tony in a really good, fun way of just posing question after question after question, trying to really understand the project and not being satisfied with the first level answer, but then posing more questions and really getting to the heart of what we are as a project and who we are as a team. So really appreciate that. What it does for everyone else is I'm sure a lot of other people that either are new to the project or maybe there are aspects of the project that maybe they don't know in the detail that they would like to, but when community members pose these kinds of questions and we get open discussions about them, it helps everyone. Yannick, always super active, really on our markets trading channel, a veteran of the project. We need this kind of conversation. And in particular, I think what I'm personally very happy about is in our sort of Discord rebirth here, where we've been shaking things up a little bit or reshaping things on Discord. The markets trading channel is, I think, turning very productive. Really enjoy a lot of the discussion that goes on there. I think it's really important for the project and really important that we have regulars, veterans of the project there actually participating actively. So Yannick, thank you very much. So next slide, please. Now, this is something we've been talking about for a bit now. It goes to how are we doing as a project? Because the markets these days are pretty sucky, right? It's depressing to go on to say CoinMarketCap and look at how things are going for us, for the broader altcoin marketplace, or however you want to slice it. But there are other ways of looking at and evaluating projects. And one that's consistent across project is this fundamental crypto asset score run by a company called Flipside Crypto. And you've probably heard us mention this before, but we've been rising significantly in the ranks. And really the reason that we've been rising, it turns out we were an A for a really long time, an A-rated project, but we weren't providing a lot of the information or a lot of the detail that the system itself needed to be able to rank us. So a lot of the things that we were doing, whether it's chain crawler, looking at our on-chain activity, or whether it was looking at our private GitHub repositories to see the massive amount of development activity that's ongoing, over the last few months, we've been exposing more of this data to the system, and our score has been shooting up. So where we stand now is the health of our project, and this is not an investment advice at all, but just looking at the overall kind of standardized health relative to other projects in the marketplace. We are ranked top tier. So we have today, actually our score is up a little bit more to an 809, and we're ranked number 17 in the entire industry. Of all projects that are ranked and evaluated, our combined score here, looking at our user activity, looking at our developer behavior, looking at our market maturity, gives us a ranking of thousands of projects as number 17. So it's really good feedback for us to see. What I like about it is that it's a standardized approach of evaluating projects across a set of standardized dimensions. So they really do get into the heart of a project and try to understand, is this, what's the extent of development activity? How much is this project being adopted in the real world? Where they look at chain activity and seeing what's going on there. So really happy with it, and big kudos to the team to make this possible. I think it's a really nice milestone for us as a project. Next slide, please. All right, here's where I'm going to hand it over to Rowan to give our business development updates.
Thank you, Rob, and good afternoon, good morning to everyone listening in. So today I have 3 announcements to make that all kind of revolve around the use and usability of what was Horizen's first application, which is obviously Zen as a currency. So for me, I think constantly expanding the utility and usability of Zen as a currency is something that's critically important to the process of onboarding new users. And right now, the team is going through a very large process to really ramp up the community creation within the ecosystem. So very, very happy to announce 3 different integrations here that help with that process. First up, what you can see in front of you is an expansion to the feature set of the Magnum wallet. What this does is provide users with a kind of secure and convenient way to manage their Zen funds with the Magnum web wallet working in tandem with the Ledger hardware devices. So right now it's web wallet only, but they are working on mobile support. So you'll soon be able to use the Magnum mobile wallet in tandem with your Ledger device. You can use it in read-only mode if you don't require send and receive functionality. And one thing I want to mention here is it provides another option for users who have maybe not followed the Ledger guidance and used their Ledger devices for things like mining and staking node rewards. Obviously, you can reclaim your kind of effectively frozen funds using our Sphere wallet. If that's not something you want to do, you've now got another option to link your Ledger wallet directly to a web wallet. So that's the Magnum integration. If we jump on to the next slide, this next integration really helps us answer the question of what can we do with our Zen. So Xpay is a Latin American point of sale system that allows brick and mortar merchants to really easily accept 5 different cryptocurrencies, including Zen. This point of sale system is already deployed in quite a large variety of retail locations across Colombia, Venezuela, including a popular burger chain called the Home Burger. And you'll see the pictures of the Home Burger restaurant chain or a select few of their locations at the bottom of this slide here. So pretty fancy, pretty cool looking burger joint. They're also soon to be rolling out across a large chain of pharmacies. Right now they have something like 90 locations that's using this point of sale. But they are growing very, very quickly, and we're very happy to have Zen in there to provide users with another option to spend their Zen. Then on the next slide, so we've kind of seen something that helps users manage their funds, something that helps users spend their funds, and then next up, this last integration to kind of complete the circle is something to really help us manage Zen portfolio and manage our tax reporting and our tax reporting requirements. So accounting.com is a pretty nice platform, something that's very, very useful for people holding Zen. There's a bunch of different services. Most of the services that are out there already are kind of pointed towards business requirements. Accounting.com have found themselves a niche by pointing their kind of service towards individual holders of different cryptocurrencies. So like I said, it's a great way to generate accurate, reliable, customizable tax reports. They're linked into 15 different exchanges and 14 wallets, including Binance, Bittrex, and Ledger. So something I think is a really good fit for the Zen community. That's live now, and you can check it out on accounting.com. And with that, I will pass back to Rob to take us through project status.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rowan. You seem to choke up a little bit on talking about taxes, but really good. So, no comment there. I think a great thing that you mentioned was a big focus that we do have, and we've seen some commentary on some of our comm channels. We for sure are focusing hard on making Zen more useful to people and growing our community. It's definitely something that you can see with the integrations that we're doing. We're still expanding the set of exchanges that we're listed on, but there's a whole bunch of other integrations just to make Zen more useful, either point of sale or things that are more infrastructure related. You say like accounting systems that businesses, if they choose to use Zen, absolutely are going to want to see. So it's a big part of what we're doing. We intend to continue doing that and stepping it up. Okay, so talking about our projects, so we've got some completed projects, and then we've got some active projects. I'll just go over some of the high-level overview. So we've had a recent release of Sphere 1.2.0 Bravo. In this release, enable the long-awaited features of batch withdrawal and batch split, but then also private key balance sweeping, view and the ability to view backup seed phrase in wallet settings. So really important foundational stuff for us, in particular focused on a very important segment of our community, our node operators, and making this product something that's useful and makes their lives easier was a really important kind of early priority for us. So really happy with that release. We can go to the next slide and talk about some of the sidechain stuff on the SDK. So the SDK, a really important product release for us here. This is a huge protocol overhaul. It's something we've been working on. Maurizio is going to talk about the kind of length and breadth and depth of this project. It's significant, but we're approaching the final sprint here, guys, for having the SDK portion of it, alpha, ready for release. So we're booking this as 90% complete so far. It's a really big deal for us. And what it does right now, or I guess what's in progress right now, we're looking at multiple sidechain nodes live on DevNet. Very important. So we went from having our kind of lone mini node. There was the heroic mini node running to say, hey, aha, we could do this. Check it out. Now having multiple of those, looking at synchronizing communications between nodes now. So far we've done this for 2 nodes. Everything's working properly. It looks to be stable. The state, is the same between nodes, but we're adding additional synchronization test cases, in particular for instances where we might have forks that are in progress. Do these nodes synchronize, correctly? Do they maintain the same state? Are they, both saying that the current state of the sidechain is, is the same? Very important. Working on a specific Python integration tests for that. And again, Maurizio's going to go into more detail, but kind of a base layer, going a level deeper on the sidechain system as a whole. The SDK is awesome. It's important. It's a critical product for us as an ecosystem, because you have to be able to give developers the tools that they need to be able to deploy these things and abstract away a lot of the complexity. But there's a whole bunch of behind, like under the hood work that's going on with our main chain. And right now, this is a major protocol upgrade on ZenD. Really, so we're booking this as 60% complete, same timeline. We're kind of racing to completion here. Obviously, to release an alpha with the SDK, we need to also simultaneously complete and release the main chain alterations that are required. We've broken this into 2 parts. So part 1 of the development here allows the possibility of a sidechain creation, first of all. So a developer could actually send a special type of transaction to initialize a sidechain and then do forward transfer. So basically commit Zen from the main chain to a sidechain. Basically commit it and burn Zen from the main chain and then have it appear on a sidechain. So that's part 1. Part 2 now allows backward transfer from sidechain to main chain. Obviously, a really critical part of the holistic system to complete it. Both of these we're still targeting, for one holistic system to be released in Q3 of this year in alpha form. Now we've got, Maurizio is going to go into some of the details of what was going on here, but ZenD 2.1.0 was our big sapling integration. And we've integrated sapling and we've, integrated in a way that's compatible with our code base that's diverging a bit from Zcash. And there's, the work has been put on hold. We've mentioned previously in some of our calls why, but essentially there's a known denial of service issue with upstream sapling where, it's just a trade-off. The ability to significantly collapse computational requirements to doing shielded transactions made it just easier to potentially, DDoS the network. So DDoS the network, DDoS the mempools, really creates a vector of attack if someone were to be malicious and really, weren't or was intent on attacking a network to be able to kind of clog it up to the point where it can't function. The possibility is there. And the possibility is there because the computational collapse has been so successful with sapling. The innovation is so disruptive that now we have other issues associated with that. And because we have a perfectly working code base right now, where we're racing on some other very high priorities like sidechains going live, we chose to strategically pause this work and do a deeper analysis into possible solutions for it. So Zcash is working on some possible solutions. We've also put some resources into looking at possible solutions, and Mauricio is going to go into more detail about the analysis that's been done so far. Basically, we've been doing our own internal study to see what the options are to actually bring Sapling live on our network. Okay, so some kind of under the hood stuff that's actually very important for a lot of people that want to work with our chain, whether these are apps like our apps that we have like wallets, or whether they're exchanges or other people that are looking to work with our chain. There is a very convenient library called Xpay.cash, JavaScript library that makes it easy to do a bunch of things that actually a lot of our products use. We've been improving it. We've been improving it in some very important ways to make it more secure to use, fixing some minor bugs as well, and then adding additional functionality. And this will eventually morph into Horizen.js. We've been mentioning this for a while. The bulk of the work is done. Actually, the vast bulk of the work is done, 95% done. We still need to do some code review and then think about the optimal way to unroll this and think about deprecating the old JS library and implement the new one. So we just want to make sure that we're very careful with it. And in fixing old bugs, we don't introduce anything, any new potential vulnerabilities. Everything looks to be pretty, kosher with it in the sense that, these are very kind of starting with a good base and then improving things versus entirely rewriting things. So happy with that work. We just need to complete it and think about how we're going to unroll it or implement it. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to leave a bulk of the details for the most recent Sphere or ongoing Sphere improvements to Gustavo, but we have 1.2.1 Bravo in works right now. Booking is 30% complete with another release in Q4. Things that you can expect will be fundamental changes to the way applications handle UTXOs, so unspent transaction outputs. This is the kind of the heart about how we operate as a blockchain. We're a UTXO-based system. And when wallets can make some architectural choices for how they handle UTXOs. What we realized with the most recent release were that people that were doing many input transactions. So basically, if you had a lot of dust, or say a very clear example would be if you had been accumulating secure supernode rewards over a prolonged period of time, and then you decide to sweep all of these into a single transaction. It was breaking the system, breaking it not in a dangerous way, but transactions weren't going through that basically exceeded size limits. So now what we're doing, adding some rational improvements to, change or improve the way that we're handling UTXOs and handling transactions. So we should see some significant performance improvements and kind of getting rid of some of these edge case issues that we've been seeing in the last release. Also increasing the current batch withdrawal and address limits, and then looking at some automation for UTXO defragmentation to keep data lightweight, and then improvements on message or error handling for messages, or error message handling, I should say. Another kind of fun project for us is we have a faucet, and a faucet, for those of you who haven't experienced it yet or tried it out, check it out, actually. A faucet is something that's really old in the Bitcoin world, and we decided to go with it. It's a nice, fun way for people that are new to a project. In theory, this is what it's meant for. People that are new to cryptocurrency, new to your project, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Zen in our case, and you want a little bit of the cryptocurrency to just see what it is. Download a wallet, and then you want your first little bit of cryptocurrency to be able to explore the wallet's functionality, to just understand what it is to use cryptocurrency because you actually have it. Faucets are awesome. It provides a free resource for people to basically go there, query the faucet, and actually get a free transaction of Zen to your wallet. Now, there are pros and cons with this, right? Because you can imagine some people historically have created bots, drain faucets. But for us, we use this as actually a new user tool to expose people to Zen. And then also what we're doing now is we want this to be kind of a first point of entry for new users in a set of new user acquisition strategies where your first stop is to the faucet after you've gotten your wallet. So say maybe your first stop is to get a wallet, go to a faucet, get some Zen, what we want to do here is basically gamify the process to funnel users into increasingly valuable educational opportunities and just opportunities to kind of grow within our ecosystem and participate within the ecosystem. So Gustavo is working on this with our marketing team, Jonathan, Tuan doing a lot of the legwork on the web dev side. We're about 50% complete now and hoping to complete it this quarter. Next up, and I should have said before, guys, focus on the items in blue, but the Horizen developer environment. Jonas, in the last live stream, gave kind of a big grand intro to what we're doing here with our HDE project. Right now, it's phase one of the project is really concept development and thinking about the architecture that we want. So we've really deep dived as a team, and Jonas has done a ton of legwork on, what is the purpose of this project, and how will we implement it such that we can actually achieve its purpose. So there's a lot of work, a lot of thoughts that's gone into it. We're booking it as about 15% complete right now. But what we want to do is really to solve some of the fundamental problems that we see in open source software projects of, number one, if you're interested in a project, how do you come to that project and figure out what to work on in a productive way? So we want to curate opportunities for people to participate, and then curate, and then really kind of socialize or gamify this process so that as you're participating over time, you're giving an increasing kind of set of responsibilities and opportunities to participate, and of course compensate people for participating. This is probably the second biggest problem with open source projects. Is that traditionally you just kind of expect people to volunteer their time, volunteer their activities. We want to make it really easy for people to participate productively, and then compensate them in different ways over time. So we're exploring not just monetary bounties, because that's simple and that's been going on for a while now in crypto, but think about other types of compensations, kind of like learning opportunities, certificate opportunities to prove that you've learned over periods of time. And ultimately, the way that I see this from kind of an idealistic perspective would be a way of doing business better in 21st century open source, where we create a truly decentralized workforce. So something that I'll end with here that segues into a very fun and important project that Rolf crafted over the last few weeks. We have a lot of really complex stuff ongoing, and a lot of long lead time stuff, because if something's complex, it basically goes from R&D to a whole set of phases before it actually gets out into a production environment. And these things take time. They're really important, and they're absolutely critical to carve out differentiating features or reasons for why we should even exist. We absolutely need these long lead item stuff. But I think also as a project, we need to have a lot of small, discrete development projects and deliverables. And what you're about to see with Rolf is exactly the kind of thing that I would love to see more of in the future. So Rolf, on that note, please take it away.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Yeah, we had an opportunity to assist some election efforts in Guatemala. I'll give you a little bit of backstory on this. When we all went to the Latin American Bitcoin Conference in 2017, we met folks all over Latin America, and one of the things that benefited is I got a chance to stop in Guatemala and meet some folks that are really involved in cryptocurrencies there. And recently in the August elections, there were some discrepancies because Guatemalan elections are actually really democratic. There's about 21,000 different districts. They each have a voting table. About 500 people vote at each table. And then the people who are running each of the tables sign off. They all count the votes. They sign off on the votes. And then they send those into the capital to be accumulated all together. Also at each one of those tables, there's a computer. And at the end of the day, they type the results into the computer and they get sent off so that they can digitally get those results. The problem is, in the last election, people started doing some spot checks between the digital results and the actual voting table results, and there was discrepancies. So there was some problems about that. Obviously, if folks think that they're getting disenfranchised or their vote doesn't count, it turns a democracy into something completely different. So these guys did an effort, and they said, hey, we can use blockchain and we can crowdsource assistance into being able to make sure that these records are good. So one of the things that they did was created a website, Fiscal.Digital, where people are able to sign up to be able to crowdsource review the voting records and say what the tally is. And the government does provide official copies of each of these JPEGs of the voting records, so people have access to those. The problem is, once those JPEGs are made available, then people can alter them and put out false versions of them. So the fellow that we're working with, Carlos Torriello, was able to work with the government voting ministry and get them to provide the source copies of those. And he made those available to anybody who wanted to assist in the effort of taking a hash of those JPEGs and then putting them onto a blockchain. So I asked in our community, or I asked in our team, who would be a good person to do this, and everybody said P-Stu is the guy that can do this kind of stuff. And so over probably 2 weeks of sleepless nights, P-Stu did a whole bunch of different work that enabled to download these 21,000 JPEG images, do a SHA-256 hash on them, and then use the op-return function to put those file names and hashes of the pictures onto the Zen blockchain. That's great to be able to do that, but then you need a way to be able to view it. And this is the harder part. So he made a website, and you can go look at it now at notes.horizen.global, where it gives you the ability to search the Horizen blockchain for any document or any note that's been encoded there. It's limited to about 80 characters, so that's why they're very short notes. But even so, that can give you the ability to do a hash and the name of a file, and you put a special page together for that Guatemalan election, so that anybody who wants to work to crowdsource the results of the election on Fiscal.Digital are able to go to this website and verify the document. And if they can also validate by taking a JPEG and hashing it and seeing what the result is. So this is a more general purpose website where I think it has this functionality, or it will soon, to be able to take your own JPEG and give it a name and drop it onto the website. It gets hashed and then stored onto the Zen blockchain. So that's the idea. It's not necessarily a new idea within the cryptocurrency world to be able to do this within the blockchain world. But the big difference is, what I was impressed by was, first of all, that through the contacts that we made as a team, people reach out to us to get assistance, that P-Stu is able to turn around such a very focused and high quality development effort in a short period of time. And it just shows that the very well run, secure Zen blockchain can be used for many things, not just what we're doing for cryptocurrency and for messages and now sidechains, but there's also other different things that we can do. So we certainly want to encourage doing more activity like this, but definitely go check out Fiscal.Digital, check out notes.horizen.global, and see what can be done on our system. Thanks. Oh, and sorry, I'm introducing the next part on the Github process, and this is Gustavo, I believe.
That's actually me.
Oh, sorry.
No problem, Rolf. Hi. So yeah, before looking at progress on our development activities, a few words on our GitHub repos. So GitHub is, as we all know, the platform where we store our code. And we have made some changes to the process there. So GitHub is a platform where you can work together in an open environment so that developers can work together, and you can open issue there, a little bit like opening a ticket where you can suggest a change, report a bug, and or just comment the code. And we have changed our process so that we can act in a faster way, in a more effective way. And on the key repos now, there is a dedicated resource that is tasked with monitoring and reacting immediately to any new issue that gets opened, assessing the urgency of that, the importance, and then dispatching it to the right resource. We have started with just 2 repos, the ZenD and Zencash.js, and if all goes well, we're gonna add more repos to this process. Next slide is again about software repos. Dangerous ones, though. It's not our repos. It's apparently there are some individuals that are presenting themselves as Horizen team members. They are not, and they promote links that to repos where there is a software that includes some malware. So again, we all know, but all our code is on our Zencash official GitHub repo. The link is in the slide, and don't trust any other link. Our code is also digitally signed, so you can check that it comes from us. And we can move finally to our development activities. What you're seeing there is our video showing a sidechain node. We had promised that next live stream in the first days of August. It was delivered by Alexander, and the video shows a node. You can see when it started up. You can see its status, some transactions. You can see them in the mempool. You can see blocks being generated, and see them. If you want to watch the video, you can find it on our blog, blog.horizen.global. It's a post that was published on August the 23rd. And next slide shows that in this month of August, we haven't stopped working. So there are more features that have been delivered. We can now transfer Zens from in testnet, of course, in reg test actually, to a sidechain, and we can run multiple sidechain nodes, and you can see them talking to each other on the network layer, and you can see there are sidechain that is the same, it's synchronized. And that's done, and we can now focus on the last deliverables for alpha that will take us to a demo alpha sidechain end of August, end of September, beginning of October. So that's the next deliverables there. The next slides, we can look at some more details about the tasks that the teams are working upon. This slide is about the main chain changes. We see in the slides the three areas of activity. On the left-hand side is the changes that refer to objects and dynamic inside main chain. So the fact that we have to include a new type of transaction, we need to change the block, how it is, to include new functionalities. In the middle area, we're talking about the way we interact with the main chain. So for instance, we need to have a way to tell the local wallet to send Zen to a sidechain. So we need a command for that and implement it. And okay, on the right-hand side is the serialization method. So the fact that we need to then write the information from memory to, for instance, to disk. Okay, so and retrieve that. So 3 areas of activities with their tasks being implemented. In the next slides, we can look at the activities for the sidechain. Is a lot of tasks. I'm not gonna give details on them because it would take a few hours. But what I want to stress and highlight is that the activities in progress are the ones that refer to the interaction between main chain and sidechain. So the focus is there. So you can see all the cross-chain transfer protocol tasks, main chain to sidechain, and then also all the tests that they don't take a lot of lines, but they require a lot of work, and it's a key piece of activity, and it will be our next core activity, testing all these pieces by themselves and together. And one last slide, I believe, is about sapling. So Rob mentioned the need to be safe when we deliver sapling. So we know that there is a potential risk with a denial of service attack. We've been working on finding a way to mitigate or to avoid that risk. And the process was a long one, a lot of work. We started with the brainstorming session. We came with 8 to 10 ideas, and then challenged each of them, and went down to 3 and then to 1 that looks the best one and robust enough. Challenged that a lot. It looks like it holds, so we are now doing it, writing it formally, and making sure we've got all the elements and then also dimensioned in a way that making sure that it stands. And I believe that pretty soon we'll be able to open that document to the community so that it can be challenged more and discussed, and then hopefully implemented so that we can also deliver sapling. And with that, I'm done. I don't know who is going to talk next.
Okay, thanks, Alberto. So we had the long-awaited release of Sphere 1.20, which was mainly targeted to node operators. I want to highlight here the batch redraw and the batch split features. Currently, we are working on mainly on performance gains, and the way we want to achieve these gains is refactoring some of the UTXO logic. And the reason we are doing this because how of our node network is architected, Sphere has to handle sometimes thousands of UTXOs. So we are focusing on the refactoring some of the UTXO logic, which will translate in faster synchronizations and some improvements in regard of transactions. It will also increase the current batch withdrawal and address limits. And another thing that will bring it will be automatic UTXO defragmentation. One good analogy for this, it would be if you had, for example, $21 bills, you would go to the bank and swap it for $20 bills. So this will also help out with the size of the UTXO set on our chain. Another thing that we are working is in the error message handling. So we are also making some improvements on that area. For the next major release, we'll be focusing on ledger integration, which I'm super excited for. One more feature for our node operators, the node monitoring, also excited for this one, and the user interface overhaul. So next slide, please. Okay, so here we have the sneak peek for Sphere by Horizen Mobile. So what I want to highlight here, the main focus here is we are focusing on the user experience. So we'll have an option that you can toggle in the simple and more advanced mode. The simple mode, it's address agnostic, so you don't have to pretty much worry about anything. And you also have advanced mode, you can put more control and you can select from which addresses and which UTXOs to spend. So the big focus here, it's been focusing on the user experience. Okay, and I'll pass it to Alan.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be going over updates on the node system, the tracking system. We've had a number of these items on the list in the last couple updates because some of them were meant to be deployed a few months ago or a couple months ago, and we got delayed. Part of that delay was due to issues that were outside the tracking system, but we're getting back on track. And is going to go over some of these in a little bit more detail because they'll probably be deployed maybe as soon as this weekend, probably next weekend or the weekend after, as we're going through and testing each of these items and also adding new fixes and new features into the tracking system itself. So some of these, we've got the unique IP and state cross-check, which means that we'll be checking IP addresses and stake addresses across both systems, so not just within the systems. We've been doing this manually and spot checking some of these things, but now it's going to be automated, and there'll be exceptions created if an IP address is found to be in both systems. For stake addresses, an exception will be created only for the second user of that stake address. The first instance that we find, the first use of a stake address, that node will not get an exception. We have API subkeys, which is going to allow hosting providers to generate an API key for their individual users. The key itself is based on the optional category setting in Node Tracker. If you're a node operator, you're familiar with that one. The subkeys work the same way as the parent key, and there'll just be a few data restrictions on those as to what is displayed. It actually also works for node operators who might have a significant number of nodes and would like to group them together and see the statistics based on those groups. We're finally getting to the point where we'll be able to reuse old IP4 addresses. This was a bit of an issue in the past when hosting providers would recycle IP4 addresses when VPSs are no longer used for hosting nodes. So it'll apply to IP4 and IP6, node T address, stake address, all of those will be able to be reused once the node is flagged as dead. But what we're doing is splitting in a period between inactive and dead for 20 days where the node itself could be revived. This is just going to help node operators who just may have neglected their node or just forgot it's running. I know there's a couple nodes out there that are still running on old versions that have never been updated and just not earning anything. So hopefully node operators are paying attention to their nodes. We're going to have some enhanced connection checking. So there's been some recent exploits in the system, people trying to use multiple different configurations to get around actually having to have a full configuration of Zen on a node. And our short-term solution has been to ban them as we identify them, but we are looking on a longer-term solution, which is going to be enhanced checks against the Zen node themselves and automatically creating exceptions. We don't want to get too specific in this because we don't want any copycats trying to do the same thing until we get this deployed. We're going to be changing the cert exception threshold. So any short duration downtimes or periods that there is an exception in place won't be counting against earnings. So we'll increase that to about 3 minutes, like the downtimes themselves. But unlike downtimes, an exception will just get flagged with an X to exclude it if it's a short duration. So this approach would allow you to, as a node operator, to help in troubleshooting to see exactly what's been happening. And an email will only be sent out if it goes over the threshold. We've had some suggestions about exceptions themselves where we have the multiple causes for the same type of exceptions. And in this new iteration, if the detail itself changes, even though the exception is still like a challenge or a stake, something like that, but the cause is different, then the exception will be closed, a new one will be opened, so you'll have the time frame and you'll have the detail to help in troubleshooting for that too. We're also going to be introducing a new type of exception for missed stat checks. There's another type of exploit that we've been starting to see out there that people have figured out how to get around a few different triggers and events that happen on the tracking system. So if stat checks are missed, we're going to create an exception and we're going to force the node to reconnect. And then if that doesn't work, we're going to force the node to we're going to just disconnect the node and try to get it to reconnect, to reestablish, and see that it's working properly. We've got a new API call for payment masters. This is a request from the community. So it'll be a summary of an earning period. We're also going to be adding status codes for errors to all the API calls, so make it a little easier if you're using the API to see if you have errors in any of your calls. There'll also be enhanced checking of the data that's coming from those, so validation of that. We'll be also adding an aggregated monthly earnings to the My Earnings page, which is based on the API key, but it'll show a total of all your nodes' earnings per month. And we have some backend items that we're doing. We've got some fixes that we've been working on for challenge exceptions that might have been not closing appropriately, that might have been left off due to timing issues. We're going to be fixing that. We've got some rare cases where there were multiple overlapping downtimes and it wasn't calculating the payments properly. It was actually allowing some nodes to get paid when they shouldn't have. And then on the back end, we're going to be updating NPM modules. We're going to be updating to Node.js 12 and looking at limiting API calls. There's actually more on the administrative side of the back end, but this covers all of what you can see on the front end. And with that, I'm going to pass this over to Lucy with a marketing update.
Hello, thank you, Alan. Hello, everyone. Lucy here from marketing. So today is the launch day of the official Horizen Instagram account. So if you're on Instagram, please follow us and tag us. So aside from the updates that you will see on our, the regular updates that you will see on our other channels like Twitter or Facebook, Telegram, we'll be sharing lots of vaccine pictures, candid and fun pictures from our team members. So if you're interested in seeing more of that, please definitely follow us on Instagram. So our handle is Horizen Global. And if you follow us before September the 18th, then you will have a chance to win some Zen. So for details about this giveaway, you will need to check out our brand new Instagram account. Next slide, please. So aside from Instagram, we are also launching an official account on Medium. We already have a lot of outlets for our updates and other contents, from our blog site to all of our social media channels, not to mention lots of regional platforms. They're popular in particular countries. So all of them require lots of work to maintain. We are doing this just to make sure that we make our information and other content as accessible as possible for our community and making it as easy as possible as well for everyone to learn about Horizen, as well as expanding our reach to a wider audience base. So we will be publishing our regular updates, articles about our team, and educational content from the Academy on Medium. So if you're a member on Medium, please follow us and share our content. Next slide, please. All right, so let's talk about our performance and growth in August. So we see a pretty strong growth last month, and I'm happy to see the growth, especially when the crypto market is not performing as strongly. So I'm particularly happy to see the overall engagement and engagement per user has increased on both of our official website and on our blog site. So metrics like average session duration, sessions per user, pages per session have all increased, and the bounce rate dropped. So this means users are spending more time and viewing more pages and more content on our website. So the engagement growth on our blog site was particularly strong last month. We published a series of blog posts about sidechain development and received a lot of views. And then also we posted about the ranking and the evaluation we received from an unbiased third-party organization. Also performed really, really well. So I believe all of this contributed to the growth. And so that also tells me that our community really, really excited and care about our sidechain development and Horizen being recognized as one of the top rated projects in the industry. So lastly, our community size has been steadily increasing as always. So in particular, our video views on YouTube was up 52% and watch time was up 48%. So people really liked Rolf's whiteboard session video explaining our sidechain use cases, and Alexander's sidechain node demo video was also very popular. So we will be publishing more videos about our sidechain in the near future. So please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. And the next slide, please. Okay, so upcoming events, our country representative Vano is going to be very busy this month and next month. We have 3 events in Georgia, and 3 events in Ukraine, and 1 event in Armenia. Vano will be attending all of them and speaking some of them. So he will give more information later on, so please stay on. And as always, you will be, if you are interested in hosting a Horizen meetup or would like to represent Horizen in some events in your area, please reach out to us. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next session is the regional updates, where our regional leads will give updates about what we have accomplished and local Horizen activities in different regions in the world. Next slide. So this one will be me again. So this is about the China market. So Guanyin has always been doing such a great job expanding our community in China. And last month he represented Horizen and exhibited at a very large conference called Smart China Export. And we had a booth there. We received a lot of traffic, and a lot of people stopped by our booth and asked about Horizen. They were very, very interested in blockchain technology and interested in what Horizen does. So I was very excited. And then there were a lot of well-known companies from all over the world attending this event as well. And other than attending events and managing the community, he's also very busy at translating a lot of important content into Chinese for the Chinese community. So he's almost complete with the node tracking side. So very soon we will have the both Supernode and Secure Node tracking site in Chinese. And then with that, and then also the Horizen Wiki page, as well as the Horizen Academy, all of them are available in Chinese. They may be not completely available on our official wiki site and academy site, but the content that have been already shared with the Chinese community. So he's been doing a really good job, making sure that our Chinese community also has the easy access to all the contents that we have available. So thank you so much, and I'll pass this to Angie. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Lucy. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you're having a great Wednesday. So for the Latin American updates, we had an amazing month as usual with a lot of activities happening in the ecosystem. So we hosted a meetup in collaboration with Binance Latin America. And it was a total success, I have to be honest. As you can see there in the pictures, we have over 60 people there, which for a meetup is not quite common because it's usually our small meets between people and meetings and stuff, so which was great. Thank you all for attending and coming. Really had an awesome session. We asked a lot of questions and it was great and awesome. So as always, we are trying to keep pushing forward to spreading the word, and this is also amazing as always. So thanks for the community. This was really, really nice. So Rob was here in Mexico, in Monterrey, a few days ago, and he came here for some great meetings as well, for a lot of good collaborations and partnerships that we're going to announce really, really soon. And he got invited to give a lecture at Tecnológico de Monterrey, the university here, one of the top universities in Latin America. So which was amazing and great. We had such an amazing time here. And so yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out soon. So stay tuned. Please remember to subscribe and join our Latin American channels in Spanish, our Instagram as well, Facebook pages and Twitter and so on and so forth. And we're super happy now that we have our sister/mother account on Instagram for the official account. This is great. And don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you soon. And with this, I will pass it on to Vano. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Angie. Hello, everyone. Magnum from Georgia. So as Lucy told, I have quite a busy September and October too. I had an interview with crypto dealers 2 days ago for their YouTube channel about OKX Talks 2019 event that will be on September 7th in Tbilisi, Georgia here. I also attended 2 days ago Startup Grind Connect International launch party here in Tbilisi, where I had an opportunity to meet with the organizers and discuss the possibility of getting into the large conference of theirs, which will be here in Georgia in November. It will be a 3-day conference, and blockchain is one of the main topics there. And about upcoming events and interviews, I will have an interview tomorrow with Crypto MC and iTuber channel, which is quite a prominent channel in CIS and Eastern Europe region, YouTube channel. Then we already talked about OKX Talks, which will be done by the OKX Exchange, regional representation. Also then in September 20th, we will be in blockchain UA conference in Kiev. And after that, with the help of our friends Knigarium Cafe, we will conduct our meetup there. It will be on September 21st on 7 p.m. local time. So if you happen to be there in Kiev, come join us there. And that's the end of the September 28th. I will be speaking about our sidechains again at Industry 4.0 and Blockchain Conference in Georgia. And then in October, we have DevOps Con Tbilisi, which I will be attending this time, maybe speaking also, but we are in open discussions there. And at ChainPoint, I'm speaking about our sidechains once again. So this is quite a busy 2 months for me. And I won't take much more time. It's now Q&A time. And so it's back to Rob and Rolf. Thank you.
Thanks, Vano. That was a great update. Man, you're keeping busy. I got to come out and visit you there. That should be fun.
Nice. Hello, everyone. Thank you. We are using, some of you must have already noticed that we're using a new tool to collect questions from our audience, and then people can actually vote on questions. So the top voted questions gets to answered. So I have the first question is, any news of Horizen VPN? I believe that we have already answered this question during our weekly insider, but we will answer again, and it's another sign that it's very important to attend our weekly insider to get information like that before everyone else.
That is very important. So the answer that we gave basically was that we don't have an official answer yet. So what I can say is we, as a project, have not been focusing on the VPN for a set of reasons, and really we do owe you guys kind of a complete complete rundown of why the project is stalled. But really the bottom line is it came down to the architecture that was proposed for the system was one that we didn't think carried acceptable security risks to our users and could also potentially harm our node infrastructure. So in light of that, the product architecture was unacceptable. So we will have more detail for you, though. Sorry, I can't say more. I don't know, Rolf, if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Not really. I mean, to me, it takes longer, and the right way to do a distributed VPN is as a special sidechain application. And I really think focusing on the new technology That's something new in this industry of getting side chains that work, especially with being able to have the two-way peg in a non-federated manner, is such an important part of what we're doing that really the engineering focus needs to be on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is, would the team consider increasing the rewards for running nodes in order to help spur more demand for Zen and reward the faithful hodlers?
So I would say as of now, our policy is we're not changing the current Coinbase allocations. So that's true for basically all of the allocations, from miners to treasury to secure and supernode operators. My gut tells me I don't think that diverting more of the Coinbase to node operators necessarily makes sense right now. I think that ultimately where we want to go is to have an actual voting system where users themselves can vote on this stuff. I think, the way we set this up, there's sort of an implied social contract between us running this project and the community. And the fewer decisions that we make to change that social contract, the better, right? The last was when we had the bear market crisis, and we really just couldn't execute on the roadmap. So that's what the last change we made was on the treasury and increasing the treasury reward to the, to fund operations. I think from my perspective, that's the last that I really want to champion in terms of diverting Coinbase.
Yeah, I mean, mining hash rate is important to maintain the security of the blockchain. So it's to think about reducing that I don't think that's a good idea, to reduce the payout to miners, which would have a direct reduction on the hash rate. And you did mention, Rob, that the last change we made was based upon the market price of Zen. And as everybody who looks at a price sees that we're back close to that price at a price level of $4 per Zen. I don't know, it feels different this time with the recent price decrease across the board of all the non-Bitcoin cryptocurrencies. To me, it feels more like a short-term market manipulation. I don't really have any proof or anything like that just being in the market for a while, it feels that way to me. So we'll see what happens here over the next few months.
Okay, thank you. So the third question is, I remember, so this is from Simon. He said, I remember talks about making spending of the funds of the Horizen team more transparent. Is there any indication how and on what funds are spent on and how much there is left?
Yeah, I actually saw Simon's question on Telegram, and if I weren't busy here, I would have replied directly. But great question, Simon. So I think what the action we should take as a project is to do this at minimum, probably quarterly. I don't think a monthly is necessarily the right frequency right now, because the bottom line is we have to collate and do all of this stuff ourselves. Where we're going is to have an actual voting system for treasury allocation, and that's real time. You'll be able to see real time where funds are going. Right now, we're basically running this as a nonprofit corporation, and I think quarterly frequency would be one that I would like to commit to. Now, before I just make that, I need to talk to our finance folks. We've been doing a lot of finance work on the background. I need to make sure that it's within capacity to do it, but I would like to commit to quarterly. And basically, the point in Telegram that was raised was, a lot of the deals that we do, say like for integrations or exchange listings or whatnot, there is some sort of sensitivity to some of this data. So what we've done in the past has been like aggregated financials, and this is what I'd like to do. So basically, aggregate spending by category so that you can just very quickly reference in like a pie chart kind of setting. X% goes to development, Y% goes to marketing, and so forth.
Thank you, Rob. I think we are running out of time, but I think we have time for last question. So the last one is, does Horizen Labs have any aligned design partners for the sidechains?
Absolutely. So one that we've actually mentioned in the Weekly Insider is we actually have a very big partner. So a company called Interfactura that does digital invoicing in Mexico. This is actually the primary reason that I was just visiting Angie and Ruben in Monterrey. And we just signed a deal with them to build a very important basically invoicing the sidechain. So this is probably such a big milestone for the project, because on the commercial side with Horizen Labs' first project will be bringing to market a project that has really, if successful, massive transaction volume. So that marketplace, just to put it in order of magnitude terms, has hundreds of millions of transactions per month, a couple 100 million flowing through our Interfactora partner. And we're hoping to digitize all of that and put it on its own sidechain. And actually to build a broader sidechain that acts as a kind of an invoicing system to keep current status of invoices in that marketplace for key participants in that marketplace, especially on the financing of invoices side. So what I love about the project is that it goes beyond proof of concept on our sidechain tech. It's a major industry partner that is using the tech to solve a real-world business problem. So this is huge progress for the project.
Thank you, Rob.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Lucy, for compiling those questions for us, and thank you to the community for participating. You can see all of the other links here and comm channels, everything from our website to our Twitter, Facebook, YouTube channel, Reddit, Telegram, Discord, everything, guys. If you are very interested in this project, share your enthusiasm with others. Like, subscribe, retweet, forward, do whatever to really show that enthusiasm and expose other people to it. Because what we do here shouldn't be in a vacuum, and ultimately, we need to get this technology and get this project out to more people. Thanks for joining, guys, and we'll see you for our first quarterly update next month.
Thank you all.